I am Aksa Ellen, Assistant Professor from the Department of Management Studies, Women's Christian College. Today, in this session, we'll be discussing the topic Introduction to International Human Resource Management. So, we'll have a look at the different subtopics under this topic. First is we'll look at the definition of International Human Resource Management, which is IHRM, and the need for IHRM, the evolution of IHRM, the model of IHRM, and some differences between IHRM and domestic HRM, and the various approaches to international human resource management. We could also call them as the different approaches to staffing. So we'll move on to the first uh, subtopic, which is definition. So there are two definitions that are mentioned here. The first one is by the uh, research scholar P. Subbarao. So what he says is it is a process of procuring, allocating, and effectively utilizing human resources in a multinational corporation. So basically, it talks about utilizing all the human resources in an organization at a global level. And the second definition also is similar to that. We can define IHRM as the set of activities involved in hiring, managing performance, compensation, training, and relations with employees hired to manage international operations of a company with a view to ensuring success of their international business and strategies. So again, IHRM is similar to whatever HRM is, but it applies for a global context or a global level. So that's about the definition. The next one is the need for IHRM. So you might have this question, why do we need IHRM as a separate subject area? Isn't it similar to what human resource management is? Yes, it is, but we're going to look at a few reasons why we need IHRM as a separate field or a separate subject area. First one is that all the HR activities, they're performed in a particular context. They're context based. Different HRM activities will, require different surrounding and different set of resources to be performed and all of that. So when you talk about a global firm, you might need completely different HRM activities that need to be done for that particular organization, or even if it is going to be the same activities, there will be a difference or a different way in which those activities will be performed. So that's the basic need for IHRM. We're going to also look at few contextual variables which kind of very clearly say how HRM activities differ. So the first one is cultural diversity. So we all know that culture is one of the key factors which affects any people oriented process, and we all know that HRM is the people oriented process. So when we consider the global perspective of HRM, we see there is a lot of cultural diversity, meaning there no culture is same, meaning the culture of two countries are not alike. So we really need a different set of HRM activities that has to be performed when it comes to a global level. So that's the first. Second is workforce diversity. So we see a lot of diversity when it comes to domestic organizations or organizations operating at a national level itself. So when we talk about organizations operating at the global level or international level, there is additional workforce diversity because here we are hiring people, human resources from different countries. So these people, they just don't come with their skills and expertise into the organization, but they also come with their attitudes, their motivational factors, what motivates them and what doesn't, their feelings and their approach to the organization, their characteristics and all that. And all of that will be different. Each one will have a different, combination. So managing all these people, it calls for tailor-made human resource management for that particular organization alone. So that's another reason. And The next one is language diversity. So we all know how different countries have different languages, and language is the basic medium of expression. So when we have employees coming from different countries who are working in the same organization, then when some communication has to be done, it becomes challenging. So generally, what happens is organizations encourage employees to learn the language of the host country if they're going to work in a different country. But it is not always feasible for every organization. We can't say it is feasible as such. So that's why we need IHRM coming into the picture. And the last criteria which tells why we need IHRM is economic diversity. It is expressed in terms of per capita income of different countries where a global company operates. So this is something that is directly related to compensation management, meaning the salary and wages that is paid and all other financial or non-financial benefits, compensation given to employees who are located at different parts of the world or different countries. So what this basically highlights is that there should be some kind of parity difference that should be shown depending upon the cost of living of host countries. Meaning, let's say there are people who are working in the home country, there are people who are working in the host country, and some organizations might have their subsidiary units in two, three countries. So they'll have multiple host countries, and each country will have a different cost of living. So these employees who are working in different countries should be paid according to the cost of living of that country. So that's where economic diversity comes in place. And obviously this calls for a different HRM practice or function at every organization. So this is about the need of IHRM. And now we'll move on to the evolution of IHRM. IHRM, the subject of this, area, it developed as a, separate subject area a little after this, huge interest in HRM as such started growing, and that was around the 1980s. So that's when HRM had a lot of reach, and people started, focusing on HRM, how people management, personal management is very important, and a lot of changes were being made and a lot of things were included and all that. So that was a time when IHRM also started gaining some interest. So how did it start? It began as a cluster of teaching and training and research interests. So by a group of people or scholars and all of that, and their teachings or trainings and the research interest was around a few factors or a few issues alone, and that's how the focus kind of evolved into a separate field that we have right now as IHRM. So what are the interests about this? First one is the opportunities and problems that were faced by MNCs. They had a lot of issues when they went global, and they couldn't deal with expats, people who are sent from home country on assignments to work in other organizations. So the success and failure of expatriates, that was one. And the importance of cross-cultural communication skills when it comes to an international business assignment. We send somebody on an assignment, how important is cross-cultural communication, that one. And also the international aspects of HRM policies and all the practices concerning these policies. So all this only led to the evolution of IHRM. And the next topic is the model of IHRM. So as you see here in the image, there are three dimensions. One is the human resource activities, two is the type of employees, and three is the countries. Okay, so these three dimensions kind of explain IHRM in a nutshell. So we'll be looking at each one of those one by one in the upcoming slides. But before that, I'll just break down this model to you. So there are the HR activities can be broadly classified into three. One is procuring, two allocating, and utilizing. And the type of employees denotes what type of employee is going to be recruited or employed in an organization. So they can be classified as host country nationals, parent country nationals, and third country nationals. And likewise, the countries in which these employees are going to be employed, or the organization is going to be operating, can be classified into three, which is the host country, home country, and other country. Okay, so we'll see what is what in the upcoming slides. So firstly, who are parent country nationals? They call as the PCNs. Those employees who belong to the country where a company's headquarters are located are called as parent country nationals or home country nationals. So the other way to put it is, when a company of a country recruits employees from its own country, then those employees, those people who have been recruited are called as PCNs. And this country, which is the headquarters and where that organization is and where the employees are being recruited from, that country is called as the parent country here. So we'll take one example. Let's say that there is an Indian international firm and they are recruiting employees from India itself. So that's the example for this. Second, host country nationals. Employees belonging to a country where the company has set up a subsidiary or a manufacturing facility are called as host country nationals. So the other way to put this, when a company of a particular country runs its business in some other country and they're recruiting employees from that country, then they are called as host countries nationals. So the second country where the business is being conducted and the place where they are recruiting these employees is called as the host country. So coming to the example, let's say the Indian company, which is an international company, it is running its business in Bangladesh and they're recruiting people from Bangladesh itself for their organization. Then they're called as host country nationals. And the next one is third country nationals, employees who work in the home or host country facility of the company but are not nationals of either. They are only called as third country nationals. Meaning, let's look at the example. When an Indian firm recruits employees from Bangladesh for a Canadian branch, okay, for their a subsidiary in Canada. So that's third country, right? So they don't belong to the home country nor the host country, but you recruit from another country. Then they are called as third country nationals. Okay, so that's about these terms. And we'll move on to the next subtopic, which is the difference between domestic HRM and IHRM. So there are few main differentiators, and this was given by Peter J. Dowling. We'll look at them one by one. So the first differentiator that Dowling mentioned is more HR activities. So in general, if you take the HR activities or human resource management that is being done at a domestic level, they'll have a set of HR activities that are being performed. Whereas when it comes to the same HRM, which is going to be done at a global level or international level, there are a lot of activities that are being done. So that's one difference. And the next one is need for broader perspective. So the way you approach something or the way you look at a particular HR function or activity will differ here. So when it comes to domestic HRM, the way you look at it and everything, the way you do and all of that is narrow. And when it comes to IHRM, it is much broader. Okay, so the scope is higher there. So that's another difference. And the third one, more involvement in employees' personal lives. So when it comes to domestic HRM, it just focuses on taking care of the employees and their benefits and training them, preparing a career development program for them, compensation, performance management, things like that. When it comes to IHRM, there is a lot of link to the personal life of the employee because it involves moving employees from the home country to the host country, or you give them international assignments and things like that. So when this travel or relocation and things like that of an employee is involved, they obviously are more involved in the personal lives as well, because they have to look at their family, whether they should shift along with their family, and how will their family be taken care of if they're going to leave their family behind and go, and things like that. So naturally, IHRM, there is more involvement in employees' personal lives, whereas in domestic HRM, there isn't, because there is no need as such. And the next one is changes in emphasis as the workforce mix of expatriates and locals vary. So again, what should be focused more, what should be given a lot of importance, so that emphasis changes when it comes to HRM, normal, your domestic HRM and IHRM, because this combination of people who are going to be employed in the organization, who are going to work in the organization, will vary. So you might have expats. So expats or expatriates are people who are sent from their home country to another country, a host country, to work on a particular assignment or a project. And locals are the ones who belong to the same country itself. Okay, so this proportion of employees will vary. So obviously the emphasis, what should be focused more, which HR function should be given a lot of importance, will vary when it comes to IHRM. So that's another difference. And the next one is risk exposure. So the amount of risk involved when it comes to international human resource management is naturally high, because we talk about a lot of laws and policies and procedures when it comes to international human resource management. So there's a lot of risk that is involved in the business and the operation as such. And the last one is more external influences. So when you take influencing factors, there are a lot of external factors which affect the HR functions when it comes to IHRM. Compared to a domestic HRM, there are a lot of external influences in IHRM because the scope is higher. So these are the basic differences between domestic HRM and IHRM. We'll move to the next topic, which is the approaches to IHRM or the approaches to staffing. So when organizations want to recruit employees for a firm that is operating at a global level, international level, for an MNC, they can follow or they can go for any one of these approaches depending upon whatever is the need or whatever is the perspective of the organization. Okay, so we look at these approaches one by one. First one is the ethnocentric approach. So what organizations do here is they hire people from parent country to fill positions all over the world. So if you look at this picture, so this US company, is the parent company, and they have a subsidiary, meaning a branch in another country, which is Mexico, and they choose to appoint or hire people from US itself, to fill their vacant positions or their executive positions in Mexico as well, because they prefer the parent country people itself, being in top position, so that the organization's culture will be maintained. It is easy to bring more the structure into the organization, and communicate the vision and mission of the organization easily, and all of that. Okay, so that's the ethnocentric approach, where you use your parent country nationals itself to occupy positions all over the world, irrespective of which country the subsidiary is in. And the next one, polycentric approach. Here, the organization hires locals to fill positions in a host country. So, you have a subsidiary company in another country, and you hire people from that country itself. That they are the ones who are called as locals. And the perspective with which this is being done is, organizations feel that they know their land better, they know their people better. So, when you have managerial positions and executive positions being occupied by the locals itself, they'll be able to communicate and interact with them better, so the organization can run in a better way. So this example that we see here, there's an Australian parent company, and they have a subsidiary unit in India, and they're hiring Indians in their vacant positions, so that they can run the whole operation there. So that's the polycentric approach. The next one is geocentric approach. It is hiring the best people to fill positions without regard to where they come from or where they live. So irrespective of whichever country the people are from, you only look at what kind of talents they can bring to the organization. If they are the best suited for the job, irrespective of whichever country they are from, you just put them in that position. So that's what the geocentric approach is all about. So it can be done in two ways basically. One is hiring remote employees, meaning you hire somebody from a very remote location. And number two is relocating existing employees. So this parent company in the kind of parent country will have employees, and they might feel that okay, this person might be best suited for that position in another country, so they can relocate them, they can send them as an expatriate to that country. So that is a second way of going about this geocentric approach. And the last approach is the regiocentric approach. So it is where organizations hire or transfer people within the same region, like group of countries together forming a region to fill their open positions. So all the American nations can be considered as one region. All Scandinavian countries can be considered as one region. So if there is a parent company in the US, that's the country of origin, and they have a subsidiary unit in Mexico. They're all American countries. So they, hire people from any one of those American countries, Mexico or something like that, Canada or something like that, and they fill all their open positions and their executive positions. And the reason why they go for this kind of an approach is rather than bringing somebody from a different continent or somebody who's out of the region, the cultural differences might be somewhat similar when it comes to a particular region, and that way they'll be able to manage the structure in the organization in a better way. So that's the perspective with which this regiocentric approach is being done. And also the cost of transferring these employees will also be less here. So that's about the regiocentric approach. So with this, we come to the end of this particular session. I hope it was useful, and these are the references and the textbook that was used for the content that was shared during this session. So thank you once again.